I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P and you're watching the Cartoon Palooza. This month is the final video for the month of love. I've talked about my favorite cartoon characters a while ago. I named off my favorite SpongeBob cartoons. I named off my favorite Mickey Mouse cartoons. Now I get to name off my favorite cartoons from the self-proclaimed trickster himself.
Ain't I a stinker?
How could you describe Bugs Bunny? He's a trickster, comedian, con artist, pansexual crossdresser.
Lady, if you don't find a rabbit with lipstick amusing, you and I have nothing to say to each other.
Any way you look at him, Bugs is the bomb. Anytime you see somebody looking at the camera, smirking or winking at the audience, you know they're calling back to this guy. And that's exactly what I'm doing today on the Cartoon Palooza, calling back to some of my favorite moments from Bugs Bunny. And as you would imagine, with a character that's been around for years, I'm talking like 30s, there are going to be a ton of cartoons that I'm not going to be including, hence, my list is only 5, and there have been like hundreds of Bugs Bunny cartoons and appearances and commercials and whatnot. So if I miss a few, that's bound to happen. I want to focus my list on the shorts that embody his character, put him in great scenarios, utilize great animation, and overall have a lot of rewatchability. So I can't hold this over longer. Here are the top 5 best Bugs Bunny cartoons. It's funny when you think of a short that didn't even come out during the golden age, let alone by animators for Termite Terrence, but this short really felt like it captured the essence of the character. The same way this cartoon brought me back from my love of Mickey Mouse with Runaway Brain. What's that cartoon? The Invasion of the Bunny Snatchers. I didn't even know this short existed if it weren't for a brief glimpse on Boomerang. What's basically a parody of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Bugs finds his foes, replaced with cardboard cutouts, after mysterious carrots from space invade the planet. You see Bugs going through a routine where he deals with Elmer, Yosemite Sam, and Daffy going through their normal shenanigans. There's something admirable about seeing Bugs treat this shtick as exactly that, a shtick. It's simple and it's well executed, but things don't get great until we actually see the parody of the Invasion of Body Snatchers and characters being replaced. I love how the short celebrates what works about Bugs Bunny, while serving as funny commentary and producing cheap animation. The limitations are not just replacements of the characters we know and love, but modeled after the known limitations of television animation. When the Looney Tunes shorts were moved from theaters to the then new medium of television, animators needed to figure out how to cater to this new market, which resulted in animation that focused less on fluidity and more on gimmicks like recycled motions, poses, and many helped frames. You can't blame them, since this is a new medium, and there are plenty of great animated shows to come out of this, but it did create a stigma. Bugs and the rest of the Looney Tunes have had a perfected form of animation since the 40s, so seeing them interact with the phonies is a nice contrast, especially when it's Bugs doing the manipulation, since we already know he's a master of deceit and tomfoolery. If you haven't heard of this short until now, I recommend checking it out for yourself. Here's a cartoon that was one of my first exposures to Bugs Bunny and continues to be a cartoon that I watch today. That cartoon is Battin Bunny. Much like this morning, night, and noon in Vienna. However, the added benefit is seeing him pantomime. I used this short as the subject of my first Cartoon Palooza shorty. However, it still fascinates me how even back then, most people don't even talk about this short. Not only is it amazing to see our hero stand on his own without using a single word, but there's one of those brief moments where Bugs loses control. We often associate Bugs as having a lid on everything, but this is one of those rare situations where he doesn't anticipate what happens. There are other shorts like Tortoise Beat Hare, Falling Hare, or any other short with a variation on the words rabbit or hare. I'm guessing someone who named these shorts was pretty lazy up there, but I ain't judging. Seeing Bugs trying to have a handle of the situation while losing control is a fun experience to have. Either way, if you haven't seen this one already, and my shorty wasn't enough to convince you, please check this one out. Give it the attention it should be getting.
Wabbit season! Duck season! Fire!
How could I not include this one? Both Bugs and Daffy have become their own odd couple over the years. You got them starring side by side in Looney Tunes Back in Action, starring in animated blocks on television like the Bugs and Daffy Hour on Cartoon Network, and even as an odd married couple in that equally odd revival, The Looney Tunes Show. Remember that? But before there was any sort of feud, you gotta ask where it all started. This is the short to do it. The first cartoon to come out of the infamous Rabbit and Duck season trilogy, we see Daffy and Bugs screw with Elmer Fudd, but mostly because Daffy's trying to fool with Bugs Bunny. We all know there's no way Bugs is gonna take it, but given that this is one of the first times seeing Daffy actively trying to mess with Bugs, you can imagine for a whole generation seeing this for the first time what that's gonna do for them. We see it as a common treat to see Daffy as the butt of the jokes, but you gotta remember this wasn't the same character that he started off as. For a while, he was the star of Looney Tunes. It wasn't until Bugs got more attention did animators realize they needed to change his character. Therefore, having him go from a wacky trickster with an odd laugh is suddenly changed to the foil for the wacky trickster Bugs. In fact, Bugs calls out Daffy on his annoying shtick throughout this short.
Hey, laughing boy, no more bullets.
So much of this would define the dynamic we would associate to Daffy Duck. And if it weren't for this short, it would be hard to imagine if Daffy would be the same character. And who can we thank for that? The master himself, Bugs Bunny.
How do? Welcome to my shop. Let me cut your mop. Let me save your crop. Daintily.
What most people owe to their introduction to opera, we got the classic Bugs Bunny short, Rabbit of Seville. This features our hero outsmarting Elmer Fudd over the tune and sets of Rossini's overture to the Barber of Seville. Everything from the timing to the score is exquisite. Added on the fact that it's everything you love about Bugs Bunny outsmarting Fudd. The cross-dressing, tomfoolery, the weapons, all dialed high. This is another Bugs Bunny short I reviewed in a shorty, so I'm sure there's more that I said there that I don't want to repeat. I do think the added Dutch angles in certain scenes not only gives this short an edge as an introduction to opera, but mostly on a cinematic scale as well. Like Battin Bunny, Rabbit of Seville makes you appreciate soundtrack and its impact on storytelling. If Stalling bummed this one out, which I ain't gonna expect since this is Carl Stalling, this short would have fell apart. But because the collective talent of visual and audio works on an epic scale, it works fantastically. I am gonna say that there's another short out there that does the same thing, but dials it even higher and brings it to a new level. I'm gonna get to that short in 3, 2, 1.
Next.
Kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit.
This one was a no-brainer. There I'd say I'd have to be... No, that's too forced. Basically, it's the short we all think of as the best Bugs Bunny cartoon. In fact, it's significant enough to be named one of the greatest cartoons of all time. And I ain't kidding, in the top 50 best cartoons as voted by hundreds of historians, animators, and other professionals in the business, What's Opera Doc came out to number 1. And we ain't just talking about Bugs Bunny cartoons, or even Looney Tunes shorts alone. We're putting Bugs on the top of the other shorts from Disney, the Fleischers, and even Gertie the Dinosaur. My only criticism against this book is that it was published in '94, and the medium has grown over that time. And it only focused on hand-drawn shorts, and failed to acknowledge computer animation, which I can't blame as Toy Story hasn't even come out in theaters by the time this book was published. It would be interesting to see what's changed, and if What's Opera Doc would still remain on the top spot. For now, there are many noticeable achievements in this short. With the music, Carl Stalling had to translate Wagner's epic Ring Cycle in a mere 6-minute short while capturing an understanding that doesn't take away from the original. It pretty much does what Rabbit of Seville does, but on a grander scale. Rather than have Bugs and Elmer run into a performance, they're playing the characters they're meant to be parodying. Another is the art style, which was a great transition from detailed backgrounds to more of a focus on shapes that dictate feeling rather than realism that would define Chuck Jones' later career. But the biggest factor that really makes this short work is how, despite being a parody, the feelings invoked by Bugs and Elmer are unlike anything done before. Even though you can argue there's no real compromising of their traditional character traits, seeing them in the short go through the feelings of love, betrayal, and despair are very endearing. Seeing this as a kid has not changed much for me growing up. Hence why I have no issue with agreeing with many of the other animation buffs out there that this is in fact the best Bugs Bunny cartoon of all time.
Well, what did you expect in an opera? A happy ending?
So comment below and let me know what you think. As I mentioned before, there are a ton of Bugs Bunny cartoons out there that should deserve some mention, but I didn't get a chance to mention on my list. Comment below and let me know what you think. I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P. Thanks for watching this month of love on the Cartoon Palooza. As for next time, I'll be going into a theme that calls for me.